Welcome to this session on developing mobile web applications with Oracle Application Express. My name is David Peake, Product Manager for Oracle Application Express. Here's Oracle's Safe Harbor slide in case I go into any futures regarding Application Express. So today I'm going to be giving you a quick overview of Application Express. Then I'm going to be talking about mobile web applications, building them, deploying them, a very quick look at a case study, and then lastly, getting started. Oracle Application Express is Oracle's primary tool for building web-based applications with SQL and PL/SQL. It's built within the Oracle database and it's database-centric for building all types of applications for any sorts of uses such as desktop or mobile applications. And it's 100% browser-based. So all you need for building applications is a browser and the URL to point you to the application development environment. For end users, all they need is a browser and the URL for the runtime application. One of the biggest things about Application Express is how quickly you can build applications, and you'll see just how quickly and easily you can build mobile applications as well. Application Express has been around since 2004. Back then it was called HTMLDB. And then in 2006 it changed to Application Express. We come out with a release about once a year. It's a no-cost feature of the Oracle database, so you can build as many applications as you like with as many developers, any number of users, all without paying any additional licensing costs. Those licensing also covers full Oracle support. So if you have any issues, you can contact Oracle support regarding Application Express. It's supported with anything from 10.204 and above in all editions of the database. The architecture of Application Express is the browser points through to the Oracle database using the web listener, and within the Oracle database is a metadata repository. And within there is your application definition is stored. So as your requests come through, at runtime we dynamically determine the queries that are required and actually render the page back out to the browser. And again, when you post a page, then we do the necessary processing based on the definitions in the metadata, and then again send the results back as HTML back to the browser. We don't do any code generation or file-based compilation either. So to find out more information, the key site to go to is otn.oracle.com/apex, and you'll find a wealth of information such as under the collateral. You'll find all sorts of presentations, you'll find white papers, there's links to Oracle by examples and various other useful information that you can find from our website. We also have a free hosted development service. This is a great place for you to go and actually kick the tires. And in fact, what I'd like you to do is actually go on to apex.oracle.com, click on the request a free workspace. Then you'll need to go and fill out your details and answer a quick survey. And once you're finished with that, then we'll actually send you an email. So you need to go and check your mail. And once you have that email, you need to click on the link, and that's when we'll actually create a workspace for you. Once that's actually created, just click on the return to login. You need to again go and check your email, and this time you'll be sent your user credentials. And you need to know those to be able to log into Application Express. Once you log in for the first time, you need to change your password. Once you've done that, then you're up and running with a full-blown development environment of Application Express running through your browser. So let's get talking about mobile web applications. What are they? Well, they're a very popular way of actually delivering content on any sort of mobile device. They're a great alternative to native applications because you don't need to download and install anything onto your actual mobile device. Basically, you just use a browser built into your mobile, you put in the correct URL, and you start running the application. When it comes to doing development and deployment, then you can use standard web technologies. You actually use it through the browser. You've got a lot of capabilities available. With the advances in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, we're seeing that the domain of the web browser applications is getting greatly enhanced, whereby you can do a lot more on the device itself. So they're very easy to develop, maintain, and to deploy using Application Express. And you'll see just how easily when we get into the demonstration. And one of the other biggest advantages is when it comes to doing an upgrade, as soon as you've made that upgrade within the development environment, then a user, when they hit the next page, will actually go and get that update immediately. They don't need to go to any app store and download it or anything else, or be notified that there's an update. They will just automatically pick up that update when they run the URL. There are some limitations, however. There's certain functions on the phone that web-based applications can't get to, such as GPS and the camera or the address books. Web applications are sometimes slower than native applications. It also needs an internet connection. It needs it to be able to download the screens, and whenever you post a page, then it needs to be able to send that back to the server as well. There are solutions such as using things like PhoneGap and Titanium to actually address some of these limitations and to be able to actually build an on-device application. So an Apex application is one that actually works through any browser. So therefore, even a desktop application you can run on your mobile device. However, it's not a very good user experience because of the fact that it's normally a large form factor. Certain components don't work as well on mobile as they do on a desktop application. For example, reports and things like that. So what we've done with Application Express 4.2 is we've provided you the ability to build mobile specific applications so that you can utilize the native events on your mobile device, such as touch and swipe and orientation change. And it's a much greater user experience because of the fact that your applications are designed for mobile rather than a desktop application. Responsive applications are web applications that transform themselves based on the available screen real estate. So if you build a desktop application using responsive techniques, then if you're running it on a smaller device, for example, an iPad or an iPhone, then the application can actually change the way that it's actually displayed to try and provide the best possible solution, no matter what the form factor. In fact, our mobile applications are also responsive, and that's why they work so well when you go from portrait to landscape, for example. Let's get into building applications. So, Application Express provides a declarative framework, and that extends to also being able to build mobile applications. So, within our application builder, you can have multiple user interfaces within a single application, both desktop and smartphone. Each individual page can only support one of those user interfaces. And each user interface has its own theme, a login page, a home page, and also a global page. And so therefore, if you actually sign on to an application which has both user interfaces and you sign on to it from a desktop, then it will actually go to the login page for the desktop and the home page for the desktop. And then if you log into that same application from a mobile device, then it will actually bring up the mobile login page once you've logged in. As such, it's going to the best user interface based on the form factor that you're logging into the application with. We have a number of wizards to be able to create applications and pages and regions and things like that. You can choose specific mobile page types such as list views, HTML5 charts and calendars. And some of the components that are available to desktop applications are not available by default with mobile applications. Things such as tabs and interactive reports, tabular forms, etc. We also have the ability to define subtypes within our text fields. This is a very good way of improving the usability of your application so that, for example, when you're entering in a phone number, instead of it coming up with the standard keyboard, it'll actually come up with numbers. Similarly, if you have a subtype of URL, instead of having a space bar, it'll actually have a slash and a .com. We also have HTML5 item types and various HTML5 attributes. With our charting engine, we have the ability within our mobile applications to build HTML5 charts. With our desktop applications, you can build what's called Flash preferred charts. If you're running those charts on something such as an iPad, which doesn't have Flash capabilities, then it will actually revert back and run an HTML5 chart. We also have mobile calendars, and this provides a template which is very familiar to most people using their calendar on their smartphone. It also has a when you click on a particular date, it will actually show the entries at the bottom of the page. And then we also have a list view available if you want to see it in that way. One of the key benefits of web-based applications is the ease of deployment. So if you're building in-house applications, then all you need to do is actually pass out the URL for your internal network and provide the user with their credentials, and they're up and running. If you're running it from if you want to run it from mobile, then you may need to actually log in with a VPN connection, depending on the server that you're trying to hit. For public-facing applications, and then you need to make sure that your Application Express instance is available on the internet or hosted on a site such as Oracle Cloud. The Oracle Database Cloud Service, in fact, is built with Application Express. And so it's very easy to take an application that you've built in-house or on your laptop, export it, and then you can import it directly into your Oracle Cloud Service. When you've actually provided the URL, then all the end users need to do is actually go and open up their web browsers and type in that URL. They can actually add it to their home screen. And as I was saying before, if you choose to, you can utilize tools such as PhoneGap and Titanium to actually wrap those applications and make them into a native application that can be installed onto the smartphone. Now I'd just like to do a quick case study. Purdue Pharma is a pharmaceuticals company in the US, and they had an existing CRM system that was built in Application Express. Within 90 days, they were able to build a mobile user interface, and they've deployed that to over 1,000 different sales representatives who utilize iPads to actually be able to go in and actually utilize their CRM application while they're actually on the customer site. In fact, that link at the bottom there leads to a article from OTN magazine, which talks about the solution that Purdue Pharma were able to produce very quickly and easily and really exceed their salesmen's expectations with mobile capabilities and what they can now do when they're sitting in a customer's office. So let's go and get started. So hopefully you've actually gone and signed up for a Workspace and received the emails, and so you can actually start doing your development. If you want to know more information about Application Express itself and how to build applications, there's various different ways that people like to learn. Some people prefer videos, others like to read books, etc. And under the Getting Started, there's a number of different links to different collateral that's available for those people that are starting out. When it comes to books, there's a wide range of books available, from those aimed at the very beginner to advanced books. Within other sessions of this OTN Virtual Developer Day, you may well have been using the Oracle Database 12c Application Development VM. Within that VM, if you actually open up Firefox, you'll see that there's a number of labs already pre-built into that VM. Unfortunately, there's no mobile labs within there, but there's a lot of great labs that you can utilize to learn Application Express. In fact, one of my favorite ones is the bottom one there, the Soup to Nuts series, which actually starts out with SQL Developer Data Modeler, goes on to SQL Developer, and has 3 Application Express labs, so you can really get a good handle on how to build applications using Application Express. Okay, so let's get started. So before I take you into Apex's application builder, I just want to take you for a quick tour around the OTN page. So just type in otn.oracle.com/apex. And here's the Getting Started button. There's lots of great links available for videos, Oracle by examples, books, etc. Another page that you might find very useful is if you go down to deployment here, then you'll see this tab called User Interface. On this page, there's a nice description on user interface, talking about mobile applications, more information about responsive design, and then talking about responsive versus mobile design. Again, if I go back home and we go on to collateral, this other big button next to Getting Started, then you'll see that there's a number of different tabs. Again, there's statement of direction and various other pages that you can go to. And there's also a number of different white papers available that might interest you, especially if you're, for example, extending out e-business suite. And then there's also a collection of presentations. So Today I actually gave you a presentation on mobile, which is actually available through the OTN Virtual Developer Days. This is a more generic presentation on mobile, and there's a number of different ones there that you might want to look at. Going back to the home page, just like to highlight one of the books that are available. So I'm just going to click on this link here for books. It'll take me right to the bottom of this page. And this last one shown here, which is Oracle Application Express for mobile web applications. And that'll come up in Amazon here. If you have a look, there's a lot of great chapters in here that walk you through how to actually build that application. An introduction, taking you through on the various presentation and working with things like dynamic actions, which I'll be demonstrating later. And then right down at the bottom, it also talks about utilizing tools such as PhoneGap. So it's a very worthwhile read. I also happen to be one of the authors, but believe me, I get very little royalty on this. I just think it's a great book for those people who prefer to utilize books for learning new concepts. So let me just shut down these pages. So I've logged into the workspace that I requested earlier, and here I am within the Application Express Builder, and I have various options here. SQL Workshop is where I can actually go and define and manage my database objects. Team development, if I have a project that we're working on, I can go and enter in features and bugs and things like that. And then administration, where I can set up additional developers. I can actually go and monitor their service and request additional space, things like that if I need to. Let's get into the application builder. You'll see that I have one application in here, which is a sample database application. By default, you'll all have that as well. If I click on this packaged applications tab, you'll see that there's a number of applications in here. There's productivity applications, which after a few clicks and a few minutes, you can have up and running. It'll actually install all the tables you need, include sample data that you can go and play with the application and use them as is, or actually unlock them and then be able to go and see how we built various components. And then there's also a number of different samples in here. So there's things like sample dynamic actions, sample charts, etc., that you may want to go and look at. But let's get back to the sample database application. And I'm just going to edit this application. And you'll see that there's a number of different pages in here, and that it's showing me that the user interface here is desktop. If I actually click on the link here, I can also go and look at the smartphone pages. So I have in this one application both desktop and smartphone. In fact, if I go and look at the application properties and then go to user interface, you'll see just that when I scroll down to the bottom here, where it's telling me that auto detection is on, that the default is desktop, and it gives me the links for the home page, the login page, and over to the side, there's also a global page. Okay, so let's go and run this application. So I'm simply going to run this, and because I'm running it on my desktop, it's going to come up with a desktop login. Now what I'd like to do is actually go over to an emulator I have called Mobilizer, and I'm just going to bring up the iPhone 4. It's the one that fits best on my screen here. And you can see I have my mobile login page because I'm bringing it up on a mobile device. And if I log in, then you'll see that the home page is very different on this application compared to the sample database application. One of the key differences is that I'm using lists. Lists are very commonly used within mobile applications because they're very easy to navigate using a finger. You don't have the accuracy that you do when you're using a mouse, for example. I can actually drill into customer records here, and you'll see that that goes to another list, and I can drill into one of those customers, and here's a form for being able to maintain that customer. Now, if you use the URL, so if you just go back here and you grab this part of the URL when you're running that application and run it on your mobile device, then you too can actually experience for yourself the mobile application running on your smartphone. When you do that, if it's actually a HTML5 compliant device and you go into the email field, you'll notice that the keyboard pop-up will be different from the standard field. So if I just go back to the postal code here, it'll be a standard keyboard. Email is different. Phone number is very different because it comes up with numbers rather than the letters. And even the URL is different insofar as it doesn't have a space bar. I'm just going to go back here now. I can also click on the calendar, and you'll see that the calendar shows me all the different spots here are indicating where there's records. So if I select one of those, it will show me the various entries for that day. I can click on one of those entries, and now it's actually taken me to the orders page, and I can see this detailed order number 9. I can see the various components at the top there. At the bottom, I have another list with the various elements, and I can select on one of these and be able to modify those values. So I can select a different a different product. I can specify the quantity, etc. Now I'm just going to go back to my desktop version and very quickly show you those same type pages in the desktop version. So here it was order number 9, and here I'm using a master detail form, and instead of going to a separate page, I'm actually updating records directly on this page. I can also go and look at reports. Now, when I run the report here, you'll see that it's actually running a flash chart. I'm actually going to go over here and just right click on mobile, open that up in a new tab. So I'm running these both through the desktop now, and I'll drill into the reports, and you'll see the difference in the HTML5 chart. So I've designed this so that the actual legend is up the top because of the fact that way you don't have to scroll down to see it. It's a different size, and I've sized that so that it fits well onto a mobile device. And this is a HTML5 chart. Just like with flash charts, you can also, when you hover over any of these, see the actual values. One of the things you'll notice is when I'm running the sample database application on my desktop, I don't have a developer toolbar. However, when I'm on my desktop version, I do. And so it's very easy for me to go in and out from these pages. What I need to do when I'm on my mobile page is look at what page number that is. So if I want to change that, I simply go back into my builder here. So I'm going to go into the builder. I can just put in the page I'm after, 200, and then drill straight into that page. And here's my definition for that page. It's actually using a list. So if I drill in, here's my list. I can actually go and modify that if I choose to, just like I can if I'm building a desktop application. So you can see that it's very declarative, very easy to do. So now what I'd like to do is go and build an application from scratch. To do that, I'm simply going to click the Create button, and I want to build a database application, and I'll provide a name, OTN VDD, Virtual Developer Day. And importantly, I need to change this user interface to jQuery mobile smartphone because I want to build a mobile application. Click Next. And I'd like to build a list view and a form. And down here, I need to select my table. I'm just going to select Dep. And I'd like to display the department name. So I'll just add that page in. Now I'm just going to do another list view and form. This time I'm going to choose the emp table. Oops. And display the e-name. So let me just continue through the Create Application wizard. Next page allows me to include shared components. Don't need to do that, so just click Next. On this page, I can set up various globalization attributes such as the language, date formats, etc. I'll leave them all as default. We only have one theme to choose with jQuery Mobile Smartphone, and that's theme 50. However, you can use what's called jQuery Mobile Theme Roller to actually go and define your own custom colors. You can then generate a CSS file and upload that CSS file, and then be able to utilize those colors instead of the standard colors that we give you with theme 50. So just continuing through, I can now go and create my application. So here's my application definition. Here's my home page and various other pages that have been created for me. And I'm just going to go and run this application. So I'll just open it in a new tab. Just get rid of this one here. I need to log in first. And so here's my departments and my employees. And if I click on a department, the various departments are shown, and then I can click on any one of these, go down. I can change the location of this. For example, I might put Denver, great place to live. And if I go back into that record, you'll see that it's saved it into the database for me, which is great. I can also create a new record if I choose to. Just going to go home, have a quick look at employees. It shows the employee names. You'll notice up the top here that the labels are showing EMP and DEPT and that sort of thing. I'll show you just how easily we can take this application and modify it. And here's the individual employees. You'll see that these are all free text format fields, and we're going to go back into the application builder and modify a lot of this application to make it much more user-friendly. So the first thing I'd like to do is actually change the actual list on the front page. So you'll see here is my navigation list, and here are my various entries, DEPT and EMP. So I'm just going to modify this, modify the first one, call it department, go to the next one, call it employees. So that was pretty quick and easy. Now I can just go back into my pages, go to the next page, and the first thing I want to do is actually change the heading of this page. So I'll just change that to departments. And most importantly, change the title to departments, because that's the actual field that's used to display the title on the mobile pages, and click Apply Changes. Next, I'd like to go and modify the department list. So let's get into that region. You'll see that at the moment it's just saying select asterisks from DEPT. First thing I want to do is go and look at the region attributes. I can see here that it's utilizing the D name, and down here it's actually utilizing the DEPT node, so I need to make sure that they're included in the query. So let me quickly go and add those in. Also need a table alias on DEPT for what I'm about to do. Add in an inner select statement. I'm just going to select count from EMP. Where the departments match. And I'll give this column an alias. Now I can go back into my region attributes, and I don't actually want to search. What I do want to do is include this employees column as my counter and apply the changes. Moving on to my next page. This is where I maintain a department, so I'm just going to add that in. And of course, the all important title. So I'll just copy that, paste it in, apply changes. Let's go and look at the items on this page. The first one here is DEPT node. You'll notice that it's a hidden item. And the reason for that is that the Create Application Wizard hides primary keys. In our case, however, we don't have a sequence to generate a new department number. And in fact, it's a number we want to be able to put in. So I'm going to change that to a number field, or to go and add a label in. So I'll just scroll down. However, we do not want to be able to update the department number because it's used as a foreign key once it's been entered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to read only, and I'm going to specify a read only attribute. So I want to specify when the item column is not null, and the column I need is in fact P3 DEPT node. Then I'm going to simply apply the changes and go into the next field here, which is the D name. And I just want to show all again. And with this one, all I want to do is actually change the name of it to name. And the same with location, just change the label here to location. Okay, so we've made a number of changes. Let's go and see just what those changes look like. To do that, I'm just going to go back up to the tab here. You'll see that my navigation items are showing departments and employees. If I click on the department, you'll see it's got a nice label up there. It is showing me my employees per department. I can actually click on one of these records. Now you'll see the department number, name, and location. It looks all right, but it's not exactly the best. So what I'm going to do is just go back over to my mobile emulator. Now, obviously, I'd prefer to run this on on an actual mobile device, but then you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to log in and click on departments. Everything's looking good here, so click on this research. So I can see that my title is too long to fit on a mobile device when it's in portrait mode, so I should change that. These fields here look good. So I haven't got a back button available to me like you do on your cell phone, so I have to go all the way back home. This time I'm going to click on create, and you'll see that I can actually enter in a number, which is what I need to be able to do, and my department will be IT, and the location is San Francisco. And I'm just going to create that record. So now you can see that there's no employees obviously for this brand new record, but I was able to successfully create a record through my mobile application. So let me just go back into the page definition, and before we go anywhere else, I'm just going to change this title here to be department so that it fits nicely on the page. And now moving on to page 4, which is my employee list page, I'm going to go and modify the page name on here as well. And again, the title, apply those changes. I'm now going to go into this region. Again, it's just select asterisk from EMP. If I go to the region attributes, what I'd like to do this time is I'd like to utilize advanced formatting. And if I click on here, then it gives me some help on the sort of things I'd like. In fact, I'd like those values. And I'd also like to include the salary, so I'll just add that in as well. The salary column is actually SAL. Another thing I'd like to do is I'd like to have a list divider, and I'd like to divide it by job. So I'll just add that in. And with my search, I want to change that so that it's like and ignore case. And then the column I'm going to be searching on is ename. So I'll just add a little help here. Okay, and so now that list is good to go. Going on to our final page, this is where I've got a bit more work to do. So I'm just going to go through each of the items here. Won't take me long at all to quickly go and change this. Now, if I wanted to, I could actually set up user interface defaults and set these values up within there. So whenever I generated a page based on that table, it would actually utilize those user interface defaults instead of it coming up with just a standard best guess it can do based on the column names. So for my job, I want to actually change it from a text field to a select list. And so I'm just going to scroll down here, and I don't want to display extra values, but I do want to display a null value. And I'm just going to add a little bit of SQL here to select out the distinct jobs. So I want to display the job and also return the job from my emp table. And I'll just go back up to the top, move to the next field. This is my manager field. And again, I want this to be a select list. Quickly change these again. And this time I'm going to use this wizard we have to be able to create a dynamic list of values, specify the table, in this case emp, display the employee name, return the empno, and it's written the SQL for me. Moving to the next column is hire date. Simply put a space in there. Salary, just change the label. As I do with commission. And the last one is depno. So I'm just going to change that to be department. Change this one to a select list as well. And again, use this wizard. This time it's based on the dep table. and I'm done with changing my items. So I'll just apply the changes. But I do need to still update my page here. Call it maintain employee. And then for the title, just employee. Now let's go back and run this again. So I'm just going to go back home. Just hit F5 to make sure it's refreshed and go into employees. So you can see that my list here is broken by job. I'm seeing the hire date and the salary. I can put in a search term. For example, I might put in ER, and there's 2 records with ER in their name, and I want to go to Turner. And when I drill down, you'll see the various items here. And now this job is actually a select list, as is the manager and the department. So I'd like to make one more enhancement to this application. So I'm going to again go back into my page definition, and I'm already on page 5 here. And I'm going to go and add in a new item. So I'm going to create a page item. I want it to be a display only item. And I'm going to call it location. Click next. Just continue through the create item wizard here. And I can leave everything as the defaults. Here's my new item. In fact, one of the other things I'd like to do is I'd like to move the hire date up above the job here. So I'm just going to drag that up. Here's my new location. And I have my department here. And what I'm going to do is create what's called a dynamic action. And my dynamic action I'm going to call get location. And the purpose of this is to actually go and get the location from the department table. Now, in order to do that, normally you'd need to implement JavaScript and Ajax to be able to do so. But instead I'm using dynamic actions. And for this dynamic action, I want the event to fire on the change of the department number. I don't need to put a condition in because I want it to fire every time. Just click next. What would I like it to do? In this case, what I want it to do is to actually do a set value. And with set value, I have a number of different options. I want to select SQL statement. And one of the important things here is I actually need to submit the actual P5 depno so that I can utilize that within my SQL statement. So I'll just grab that. I'll just enter the simple SQL to retrieve the location from the department table based on the depno equal to the P5 depno column. Okay, so now I'll put in that simple SQL. I can just go next. And it needs to know what it's going to operate on. In this case, it's my location item that I just added. So I've created this dynamic action. Just go back over here, hit F5 to refresh the page, and you'll see that it's showing location of Chicago. Now, if I go and change my department to, say, IT, then that location changes immediately to San Francisco. Going back into my page definition, just need to clean up that label a little by putting a colon and an ampersand MBSP, which is HTML space, and apply those changes. One of the key things about dynamic actions is instead of it being JavaScript and having to understand what JavaScript is, anybody can go and put in a vast array of different dynamic actions to be able to go and perform various JavaScript and Ajax type calls and greatly improve the client-side interactivity and, as a consequence, improve customer satisfaction in a declarative way. So here's my department number, and I can easily go in and see what this particular action is doing. There's my SQL statement. If I need to, I can easily update these. You'll see that it is going to fire on page load, so that's why the department is showing up as soon as I actually load the page. Okay, so let's just quickly go and have a look at that page in our emulator. And so I'm just going to go back home, go to employees. Here's my records. I'll just click on Blake this time, and you can see my various records are looking good. Again, if I change this to, say, accounting, then accounting is actually located in New York, and I can save that. So I hope you've enjoyed this session on building mobile web applications with Oracle Application Express. And I strongly encourage you to actually go over to apex.oracle.com, sign into the workspace that you requested earlier in the session, and start actually playing around with the sample database application, creating your own application as well, seeing just how quick and easy it is to be able to build professional mobile web applications that you can then implement within your organization or even have as an internet application if you choose to. And we have been monitoring the chat throughout this session, and we will continue to monitor it for some period afterwards. And any questions that we haven't been able to answer, we'll endeavor to get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you very much.